So, in terms of your dispute with the government, with the Privy Council, in terms of the documents, can you give us a bit of a background or how far back the issue goes and how it has kept on going to the point of hurting two audits in this case?
Well, the issue arises from time to time, and in the message that I tabled today, we talk about it starting back in the 1980s when the Auditor General of the day tried to get access to information, in the Petrofina case, and in fact, in that case, it went to the courts. In 1985, the government of the day put in place an order in council that laid out the types of cabinet confidence documents. So documents that are reserved really for ministers in their discussions as cabinet. What types of those documents the Auditor General would be given access to, and what it was a list of certain types of documents. So then that worked all right until the issue arose again in 2006, when again the office had problems with accessing information, and the Auditor General of the day reported that issue to Parliament at that time. The response of the government in 2006 was to issue another order in council that added to the list that existed in 1985, essentially. So now, this year, in our audit of inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, we came across the same issue. We asked the Department of Finance to provide us information on the analysis that they had done related to what is an inefficient fossil fuel subsidy, something the government committed to doing in 2009, and particularly the information Finance had done on tax measures, and the Department of Finance would not give us that information. So the result was we couldn't conclude on our audit objective. We couldn't tell people whether Finance did what they were supposed to do. Again, we went through the process. Finance said that they wouldn't provide us the information. The result has been that the government issued another order in council today that will give us access to, more budget-type information in the future, which is a good step because, it does expand our access. But again, it's still an approach of listing different items we will get access to. So what needs to happen now is we need to change our approach. The approach now needs to be one where we can work with the Privy Council office, and they have agreed to do this, to identify what the principles are going to be of our right to access, remembering that the Auditor General Act starts by saying that the Auditor General has the right to access any information that the Auditor General considers necessary to complete the Auditor General's work. So we need to move away from having a number of different orders in council that list different types of documents, and we need to get an approach that deals with the first principle that fundamentally we have the right to access information other than the discussions that go on behind cabinet doors, because we don't want that information, but we should get access to any analysis that's been completed by civil servants.
And in terms of, so this current dispute with Finance is actually very recent. It's not a problem it's not the same problem the office encountered in 2000. It's a very recent issue with the current government, I guess.
This is an issue within the audit that we have done, which was primarily done, in the last sort of 18 months. So yes, it's in that time period. From time to time, though, the office has had trouble getting access to information on other audits that we have done. But in most cases, what we've been able to conclude in a number of situations is we haven't always needed access to the information because we will have obtained enough information to still conclude on the subject matter that we were auditing. So these don't happen in isolation. These types of problems do happen regularly. They're not always important enough, though, for us to have to report it to Parliament, because usually we can, in fact, tell Parliament, give Parliament an opinion on whether the department has, operated the program the way that they were supposed to. But in this case, in the case of the fossil fuel subsidy audit, we can't tell Parliament whether the Department of Finance did an appropriate analysis of the different tax measures that exist within the Income Tax Act.
Montréal, j'aimerais avoir plus de détails là-dessus. Est-ce que vous seriez prêt à...
Would you be prepared to say that the government doesn't know what subsidies are given to the fossil fuel industry? And if it possesses this information, how do you interpret the fact that it is not providing you with these analyses? Well, first of all, the department decided not to provide the information, so it's difficult to understand the reasons why. Obviously, we identified various issues in the context of the audit. For example, there is no definition of what ineffective fossil fuel subsidies might be, so there are problems. But I cannot say if there was enough analysis done because we don't have access to this type of analysis. So I have no opinion as far as the type of analysis that exists. But does it exist? You know, if the Department of Finance tracks all of these subsidies? Well, we have some evidence that this type of analysis exists because in our audit we did identify the fact, and the department stated, that there are about 240 pages of analysis, reports. There are also various impact assessments, environmental impact assessments, and we received some documents of that nature, but all of the information had been redacted. So we do have evidence that indicates that the analysis does exist.
Do you think that, in a sense, that they don't want to give you the information, or do you think they're willfully trying to undermine your report and your ability to do your job?
Well, again, I can't really comment on, why they're taking the position that they're taking. We have asked for the information. They've told us that they're not going to provide it to us. They say that it is information that is cabinet confidence. Again, we recognize that we don't want access to recommendations that are made to cabinet. We don't want access to the discussions that happen behind cabinet doors. So we're not looking for access to, the real confidences of the discussions that cabinet has. But we feel that we should be getting access to any of the analysis that is done in the course of preparing recommendations to cabinet. And so, again, why they're not providing that to us, I don't know, other than the reason they are giving us is that they are saying that it exists in a cabinet confidence document. I think that the department, should really be making sure that the analysis is very separate from the recommendation, because we should be getting access to the analysis.
Further to that, how much does it undermine your office and your ability to do your job?
Well, as I said, in the case particularly of the fossil fuel subsidy audit, I can't tell you whether the Department of Finance was doing what it should be doing. In 2009, the government made a commitment to examine fossil fuel subsidies, to determine whether any of them were inefficient, to rationalize or phase out any of them that were inefficient. I can't tell you, or I can't tell Parliament, what level of analysis the Department of Finance was doing. So it's not very helpful if an Auditor General is coming out reporting on things and saying, I can't tell you whether they've done the job they're supposed to do. Getting access to information is fundamental to the independence of an Auditor General. That's fundamental to the work that we do. So whenever we run into this type of a situation where we can't tell you whether a department has done what it's supposed to do because we weren't provided the information, that's an extremely concerning situation. Now, I am at least encouraged by the fact that the government has agreed that, from November 2015, as described in the recent order in council, that we will get access to all budgetary type documents going forward. So that's a good step forward, but we still need to go back and change the overall approach to a first principles approach.